Hello and welcome to the channel. And for today's video, we are checking out this new Marvel Legends celebrating 85 years of Marvel Comics. The new Warbird, aka Miss Marvel, aka Carol Danvers. So this figure was a Target exclusive released during the summer earlier this year. And to say that it was a coveted figure is to say the least. So the figure previously released in the late 2010s as part of a 3-pack that was sold exclusively at Toys R Us, I believe. And they haven't released a Captain Marvel slash Warbird figure or slash Miss Marvel figure in this particular costume since then. So when we heard the news that a new Miss Marvel slash Warbird figure was releasing, fans got excited. However, excitement kind of turned to worry when we found out that it was going to be a Target exclusive. Because you know that anytime anything is an exclusive to a particular retailer, you know that scalpers are going to come in and buy up all of the supply, put it up on eBay, sell it for ridiculous numbers, and disappointing all of the fans. I, in particular, was looking forward to having this figure because I didn't have a representation of this character in action figure form. A character that I kind of find, visually really cool. And also the character itself is interesting, although what they've done with the characters pretty much since they renamed her to Captain Marvel has been questionable, but that's not what we're here for. But anyway, so this figure, as predicted, pretty much became impossible to find at Targets. It was, there were I was keeping up with reports, and there were various sightings after release, a couple weeks afterwards, where people were finding it in stores, but it was mostly in the east coast part of the United States. So nothing too much where I'm located in the west. So it did become a little bit difficult to find. This figure I had to get on eBay, unfortunately. But I didn't pay too much of a premium price for it. I was able to find a listing for it for 30, the figure itself, $30, right? So $5 over the retail price. But I still had to pay for tax and shipping. So in total, it came out at around $38, which wasn't too bad, considering the for most listings you would find this figure upwards of 40, 45, 50, 50, higher than what I ended up paying. So I was lucky enough to find that listing, and lucky enough that it was the figure as promoted, and it wasn't a figure swap or anything like that. So there's that, But anyway, we have the figure. Let's have a quick look first at the packaging. So it's pretty basic. I may have misplaced. Give me 1 second. So as I was gonna say, I may have misplaced the power effects that she comes with it. So she comes with these little swirly power effects, one for each hand. And then she comes with a set of an open splayed hand and a fist. So you can see I have one of each on the figure itself, and you can see the others still in the packaging. She also does come with a second head sculpt. that head sculpt I currently have on my custom that I made a couple weeks, about a month or so ago that I posted the video, but we'll get to that in just one second. So here is the alternate head that she comes with. I believe this is more of a vintage 70s, 80s style. And then the one that's currently on the figure is the more modern style. We'll get to that again. Let me just focus. There we go. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So let me just again have a look over at the packaging here. So like I said, we're celebrating 85 years of Marvel. Pretty standard. This is the new designed box of Marvel Legends. So on the side you get this is, I believe, Ed McGuinness artwork. He started doing, I don't believe he ever did interiors for the series. He just did covers. Right. And that's pretty much it for the packaging. Now let's take a closer look here at the figure itself. So yeah, the figure is using the new female body bucks that they debuted about a couple years ago. I think it first came out, or they started using it on the Shriek figure. That's not a figure that I own, so I can't really compare it one-to-one. But I do have a figure that later came out that is pretty much more closer to this body buck, which is the Black Widow, the last Black Widow that came out. So this is the new, like, female super articulated body, right? But we're gonna look at it on this one. So to me, this is like an iconic costume, right? Obviously, it's a little, risque, you could say, because it's basically just, a one-piece bikini sort of deal, and she's got thigh-high boots and long sleeves, long sleeve gloves, I should say. Right. So the costume is, typical old school style, your basic costume, from the 60s and 70s that they were coming up with back then. But, the combination, of the lightning bolt and the sash, everything about it was just, obviously, the look itself, everything about it just became iconic for the character. And again, when I kind of explained it when I showed you the custom Miss Marvel, which I'll show you guys in later as far as comparisons. I became familiar with the character during the late 90s, when the Heroes Reborn crossover came to an end. So they released a new Avengers miniseries, not a miniseries, a new regular Avengers series, and Warbird was part of the team. So I got to get to know more about the character then, and I started, to kind of get into the character itself. Then during House of M, that's when they started to try and elevate the character into a more bigger deal. Probably because they were seeing the future of the MCU, and thought that this character could go places. They could probably make this character a big deal. And that's when they started changing the character up, and then turned her into Captain Marvel, changed her costume, changed her look, and Like I said, I'm not gonna get into that. I'm just trying to explain, you know, where my fandom for the character comes from. So anyway, the figure itself, uh, well, comes well painted. There's no missed paint or anything. It's all in the right places. I'm not getting any paint rub or anything. Um, everything came in spot on. About the only thing that I could do to this figure to just make it better in terms of customizing it, maybe to just do the typical modifications that I do on female figures, where I trim down the crotch area so that the legs can cross one in front of the other. Because currently you can see how far they can close together, and then add probably a little more. Let's see. She's got decent range going backwards, so I may not touch the butt cheek area just to get so I can give her more range. As far as the splits go, she's got a decent range for a character that doesn't really need to be like super acrobatic like the Black Widow, for instance. So she does have pretty decent range. Then, of course, we have the integration of the ab crunch finally on female figures. So she does lean forward a lot just on the ab crunch. And then with the upper diaphragm, she can lean almost into a complete like an L shape. And then going backwards, she does have good lean, which is good for like flying poses. Right. The only thing that is hampered here with this figure is the head sculpt because of the hair. She can't really look up on her own. She can definitely look down, but there's no way that she can look up. Side to side is pretty good. If we try the other head sculpt, that's how she looks. And again, this hair is the same. No compromise side to side, looking down, but there's no way you can gonna get her to look up. I tried on this one. I tried heating up the back end of the hair and bending it backwards, trying to see if I could get some lean on it so that I would be able to lift the head upwards. But this part of the sculpt is what's causing the head sculpt from looking upwards, because this is what immediately bumps into the back of the neck. So, and this is too rigid. And if I would try to if I tried to keep applying heat, it would separate the hair from the head sculpt. I may try and do some carving out with a Dremel, carve out a notch so that she could probably have minimal range going upwards, but I don't know. And then, okay, so her range, she's got the full movement up here at the diaphragm. She's got the shoulder shimmy, the shoulder rockers going forward and back. She does get like a full range going backwards. You can see almost a full range going backwards. And her arms if you extend her arms, you can see how further back they go. Right. That's also going forwards. She can almost, put her hands over one on top of the other. She does have the bicep swivel and double jointed elbow. And then the swivel on this one, the thigh swivel, they decided to go with the cut lower on the thigh instead of high like they typically do. Probably because since this is the black part of the boot, it was easier to hide and it doesn't look so ugly if they were to do it up on the higher on the thigh. But she does have the thigh swivel, double jointed knee, and of course the typical ankle tilt and swivel. The sash, like as you can see, it's not glued on, so it's free floating, which is typical of this costume. Her sash typically, acted like to give the same effect like a character with a cape. It's especially for flying characters. You wanna give some sort of effect for the wind and all of that. Of course, she also has the long hair, so that helps. But for the action figure, it works. It's stiff. It's not posable. So let me just reset the camera, and we're gonna do some comparisons. All right. So let's start working on some comparisons, just so you can get a better idea of how the figure would look like in your Marvel Legends collection. So from other reviews that I've seen, she does kind of look a little on the short side when compared to other female figures. But let's see with the one. I mean, I don't have a whole lot, but let's see what she looks like with several others that I have in my collection. So first off, we're gonna compare her with the Black Widow, which is probably the closest, match that we can get. Um, you know, and shoulder to shoulder, it almost looks like that they're around the same height. Let's see. I'll compare them back to back. Yeah, it looks like they're probably the same height, although the back of the head of the Black Widow might be a little higher, but maybe that's because she's got either a longer neck or the cut on the inside for the ball joint is a little lower on the head sculpt than on the Warbird figure. So there's that. And then let's see, something a little more modern. So let's bring in the Jean Grey from the X-Men 97 line. She also looks to be almost the same height from the head to the toes, although the proportions are a little different. Her shoulders are a little lower when compared to the Warbird figure. Yeah, so that's pretty much a good comparison. And then a character where Miss Marvel slash Carol Danvers does have a lot of history with. Rogue. Again, this is the X-Men 97 Rogue. Again, Rogue looks to be taller, but that's because of her poofy hair. But side to side, they kind of look the same. Well, you can see there, Rogue is taller. Her eyes are are set higher on the figure, whereas the Carol Danvers Warbird figure, Her nose is just underneath, falls just like between Rogue's nose and mouth. So but they're pretty comparable. And then finally, one other figure that I think, that is one of the popular releases from this year is the new She-Hulk. And obviously, the She-Hulk is a way taller figure. But to get you the idea of how tall she really is compared to your average female figure, right? So yeah, she's not even in the shot. Of course, if you haven't seen my video on how I customize this figure, check it out. Maybe you should bring in one male character just for comparison. Let's see who I got here. Since she is an Avenger, I guess I might as well bring in Captain America. So this is the ultimate Captain America. And you can see how tall she is compared to your average male figure in the line. Okay, so like I said earlier, I did make a custom Miss Marvel / Warbird recently and posted the video. And so I've done some updates on the figure since then. And we'll go over those here. But here's the comparison between my custom Miss Marvel / Warbird with the new head from the new figure. Not that I don't like the custom head that I used, but the idea all along was if I ever got the new Warbird, I was gonna use one of the new heads for my custom. I still have plans for that old head sculpt, so but primarily the plan was always doing this, using that second alternate head sculpt for my custom. And you can see the different approaches, towards the design as well as how I went with my figure. Typically, the Marvel Legends figures they always give her a gold lightning bolt on her costume, whereas typically it's always been depicted as yellow in the comics. So that's the color scheme that I went with. I used the yellow lightning bolt instead of the gold. You can see that I gave her a custom sash, which is posable. All right. So this is made out of electrical tape, red electrical tape, and it has a bendy wire inside of it. Nothing too complicated, right? And now one of the updates that I had to do on the figure was to switch out the arms. The original, okay, so the original figure used as a base the Siren figure that came with one of the reverse Build-A-Figures. So I completely used that body for my custom originally, but we had an accident recently, and the mushroom peg on the connector from the shoulder to the bicep broke. So it snapped because of the I guess there was too much glue, not glue, too much paint on the inside, or either clear that seeped in while I was applying the clear coat, or too much paint on the peg itself, that it kind of stuck. So as I was twisting the arm to pose it one day, it just snapped. So I was trying to fix it by driving in a dowel, a metal, this is just a rod. Sorry, this is just a metal rod. And thread it through, made a hole, thread it through, and with some super glue, trying to get it in there. And then also, for some reason or another, the paint was just not sticking to the paint on the figure itself. So I just kept having issues. Also on this arm, you can see the paint just kept rubbing off. So I decided to go another direction and use the arms that came with and I'll post a picture. There was a Spider Woman that released last year, where she came with a black costume with the webs on the going down from the shoulders down to her arms. Um, and that I used that figure. I'm sorry, I used the arms from that figure for this one. And coincidentally enough, those arms actually have more muscle definition than the ones that came with the siren. If you compare the arms, you can see that there's more muscle definition on these ones. They're actually, a little longer as well. Or maybe not. But anyway, you can see that she has a little more muscle definition on these. So eventually, I think these are better suited for the character, especially when you compare and take into consideration the artwork that they're using. Although the base body for the actual figure she doesn't look that buff, but for I'm going for that sort of look on my custom, which was loosely based on the Frank Cho look. So I think these arms work better for my custom. So here they are. One other thing that I'm looking into doing, so I still have so from the Black Widow figure, she also comes with a bunch of extra heads. So I have this extra head from the Black Widow figure that I want to apply to my custom. I'm either thinking of removing the hair piece, and then swapping out the hair piece on this one and see how it looks with this hair, more relaxed hair. Because again, it's a little closer to one of the source images that I have that I'll post as well from the Frank Cho Warbird Ms. Marvel character. When her hair, when it's relaxed, it kind of looks like this. So I would just need to paint it blonde, right? But that's one of the options that I'm looking for towards doing. What do you like from each one? Which one would you prefer? Obviously I would love to have access to a body type like this when I was doing my custom. Well, I mean, I have the Black Widow, but she has costume details and all of that, so I wouldn't have been able to use this torso on mine, right? But yeah, I'm not saying that my custom is better. I'm just saying that there are things that I like on mine that I would have preferred on this one, but this one is definitely miles better in terms of like posability, the overall look and the sculpt and all of that. So definitely a figure. Oh, she's not centered. It's definitely a figure that you should try and acquire. But now, that's the thing. If you can find it in stores, perfect. But if you can't, um, be careful, overpaying for it on the secondary market. I would say try and find, instead of going at the buy it now um, auctions or listings, try and search for listings that say or best offer. Sorry, as I was saying, the standard figure, $25, depending on your area, sales tax or shipping and whatnot, etc., etc. Don't try and pay too much for it. You know, I would say don't pay. I mean, no matter how great this action figure is, it's still a Marvel Legends figure. It's not an SH Figure Arts. It's not a Mayfix. It's not one of those great import figures that are 70, 80, $90. So keep that in mind. I would never pay those kind of prices for this figure. But I would pay, like I said, ended up paying just under $40 for it total, shipping, taxes, and everything. So if you can find it in that range, I would still say it's worth it. If you're reaching 45, 50, and the listing has a or best offer, try and bring it down as much as you can, um, and hopefully you can get it for a decent price. And you'll find out that some of the sellers will agree to those best offers. That's how I got in a lot of figures myself, so it does work. So let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.